Whew, that would be a big wheelie. This thing's been sitting for a long time. Now what do I do with it? I'm not gonna say it's gonna be easy. Uh-oh, he wrecked. This thing is gonna be a handful. These are keychain rings. How did you get so smart? That's why it rolled so well.
This is a learning experience.
It'll be fine.
I don't smell anything.
I drive.
It might not look like much to some people, but this is my absolute dream car. This is a 51 Henry J, and it's an old school gasser. This thing's got history going back into the 60s. And, you know, I've had a lot of cars. If you've followed my channel, you've seen me buy some cars, you've seen me sell a few cars. You've seen some history on some of the cars we have, but you have not seen me take an old drag car and put it back together again. So this is kind of new territory. Most of our old junk is too far gone, so we don't really make it run again. But this old car is very solid. The paint's not in the best shape, but it's got some really good pieces on it already, and it's got plenty of good structure to build upon. So the idea behind this build is to put this thing back on the road and on the drag strip. So it needs a lot. It basically needs everything. And we're going to cover this in an extensive several part video, and we're going to cover it all. The good times and the bad times, the annoyances, the problems that we run into. You're going to see every piece of this build. But before we get into that, I want to tell you why I love Henry J so much and why this is my dream car. And to do that, I need to show you a lot of old pictures. So this journey will go on, starts in the mid-70s with a Henry J that my dad bought. And this was an existing drag car. Before my dad got his hands on it, it was already a drag car. It already had the quarter panels opened up for slicks. It already had a better rear end under it. It already had a straight axle under the front. And by this point, just a reminder, we're talking about mid-70s, straight axle gassers were kind of outpaced. You know, people were tubbing their cars and putting Mustang 2 front suspension and setting them real low on the ground. And so a straight axle Henry J was not worth much. But he bought this car and partnered up with a friend to go drag racing with it. My uncle was a sign painter here in town, and he painted a lot of dirt track cars and drag cars through the years. And every time my dad had a little project, he'd come and do some hand lettering on it. So in those early days, they did some hand lettering as far as some sponsors and the crew's name and things like that. But the most important lettering on this car is on the door, and it says Dr. Feelgood. This was just a down and dirty, budget-friendly gasser in the 1970s. And according to my dad, I mean, he did a lot of work trying to get the stance a little bit lower. Again, you didn't want something way up in the air in the 1970s. You wanted it down low. And so they did a little bit of cutting and got the front end down where it needed to be. And this car, through the years, almost always ran a small block Chevy. They built a real serious motor a few years in and continued to race the car. It was never, you know, a big race winner or didn't set any kind of records or do anything crazy, but they raced it at Brainerd Optimus Drag Strip. They raced it at Paradise Drag Strip in Calhoun, Georgia. They even went to Buffalo Valley, Crossville Drag Strip. They went all over the place with this car and some other cars. So the old car got beat on pretty regularly, whether it was on the drag strip or right there in front of my dad's house. And they would street race and carry on all the time. But the car got out of my dad's hands for just a little while, and they actually repainted it. You can see here it's red, and my dad did not like the red paint job. So as soon as he got it back, he stripped it down and repainted it again. So you'll see probably the most clean paint job on the car is the all black paint job. The lettering's super clean, the car's sitting nice and low. It's got some Krager skinnies on the front. It looks like some chrome steel wheels on the back, probably 10 inches wide. And he raced it like this up until about 1978. My absolute favorite picture of my dad's Henry J is taken at Paradise Drag Strip in Calhoun, Georgia. And you can see he's actually the one outside the car. He's holding the car, because you can see in this picture, the starting line at Paradise Drag Strip is uphill. And they've actually moved the starting line through the years to try to eliminate that rollback, but it still happens. And with a car that didn't have a line lock, which they didn't have a line lock on the car, it would roll backwards when you push in the clutch. So my dad would hold the car, and that's his buddy there, Junior, driving the car. Here's another neat picture. This is from opening day at Crossville Drag Strip. This is the first day the track was open ever. This was in April of 1978. And their very first race at Crossville Drag Strip was an IHRA points race. So, you know, they hit the ground running with this drag strip. And you can see my dad sitting here on the quarter panel. That's his buddy Ronnie McGee standing there with him. And they're in the pits. Dad's sitting up on the quarter panel. He's got his feet propped up on the slicks sticking out of the quarters. This is just a neat picture that just takes you back in time. You can see in the background a lot of drag cars in the pits. The place was covered up with drag cars. The final combination on this car, while my dad had it, he stripped it down again and painted it white. He put some flames on it, which he admits he doesn't like the flames now, but his whole idea was to not let the flames get on the door, because then if he wanted to change the paint job, he would also have to paint the doors. So that was just his mindset then. This configuration was a street car. It didn't have a radical engine, but it had a radical rear end gear. It was a 4-speed car, and it was just an old race car. It was gutted out on the inside. He traded it for another Henry J that was called Orange Blossom Special. They traded places, and my dad ended up selling off the orange car. He has no idea where it ended up. He says he thinks it might have ended up in the Knoxville area, but it's just not something that he remembered. It wasn't something that he cared about, honestly. It just was an old car. So those cars traded places. Buddy Sinclair sent the white Henry J off to have a chassis built. So he was not planning on running the straight axle. He didn't want a gasser. He wanted a modern day race car. So he sent the car off, had the chassis built. So this thing was sitting nice and low on the ground, but it still had the radius wheel wells from the gasser days. So it had a unique look to it. This is fresh out of my dad's garage. My dad painted it with acrylic enamel, Hugger orange, and it looks so good in this picture right here. And not long after this picture was taken, the car went up to my uncle's place and he did some hand lettering on it. So you'll see the hand lettering, it says Sears and Roebuck. Now there's a story behind that, because these Henry J's, even though they were built by Kaiser, these cars could be bought out of the Sears catalog. So the Sears versions of the cars would be called an Allstate. They put Sears and Roebuck on the door. They put lots of other lettering on this car, including painted by Troy Bird. That's my dad. This old car is still around. It still has the old paint, still has the old lettering on it, and it's a special piece to me. Even though I don't own it, it's a very special car. It means the world to me because it really kicked off my whole car journey. You know, it's what made me love cars. And that's why this old car here that I'm standing with means a lot too. Is I bought and sold several Henry J's through the years, but they've all been a little too rough, or they've come at a bad time where I couldn't afford to build it, or I couldn't take on such a big project. But when this car came along last year, it changed all that. I made it happen and brought this thing in, and I've been real fortunate to be able to start working on it. But the finish line, the absolute finish of this build, is what I'm most excited about, because for years, and I'm talking about 20 years, that me and Sleeperdude have been friends. Josh and I go way back. We went to tech school together before YouTube was even invented. We were buddies and we were fooling around with old cars. And we both have similar themed cars right now. This Henry J. Gasser, this is sort of a 60s, 70s type build. And then he bought the funny Fairmont from Steve Magnanti. So it's kind of a wild combination. But those two cars, two oddballs, two cars with the front end jacked up in the air, two cars with the engine kind of set back, they match up. So we're going to take these cars and we're going to race them when we get done with them. When I get done with this car and when Josh gets done with his upgrades on this Fairmont. So that's what I'm most excited about. I want to be able to do burnouts in this thing. I want to be able to take it down the drag strip. And most of all, I honestly just want to get a picture of me and Josh together on the drag strip. That's never happened before. I'm almost always the one taking pictures of him while he's drag racing, and just having a shot of us leading the line together is going to be, you know, what this is all about. So let's kick it off with a good cleanup job inside and out, and then we're going to tear down what we can get to and talk about how we're going to build this thing back up. That'll allow us to make a parts list and get the ball rolling on this thing. You think this car is going to be loud? Yeah. Do you think it'll be able to do a burnout?
Yeah.
Do you think it'll go fast?
At the drag strip.
At the drag strip? Let's see, what else? Do you think it'll do a wheelie?
Yeah.
Yeah? You think so? Oh, that'd be so cool if it did a wheelie. Do you want it to do a wheelie? Yeah? Okay. Well, I'm glad we can agree on that.
I think he's going to do a very, very big one.
All right. I hope so.
What's his bumper right here?
You think it'll hit that bumper?
Yeah.
Whew, that would be a big wheelie. Yeah, there you go. Get yourself turned around.
I can't wait to sit this
Turn around and hold on to that steering wheel like you're driving. You're going to drive this car one day, aren't you?
Will I get bigger than you?
Well, maybe. Grab a hold of that steering wheel. See how it feels. See how it feels to drive this thing. I'm going to close this door.
It's sparkly.
I know, isn't that so cool? Watch your leg there. Watch your leg. Now you're in. Now you're in.
Oh no, what's that?
You're gonna drive it. This thing's been sitting for a long time. Obviously the paint's pretty rough on it, but there's not a lot of rust. You see down here, there's a little bit of normal stuff. Nothing real crazy, nothing real bad compared to most Henry J's. I've owned several Henry J's. Every single one of them has been so rotten that they didn't even have rocker panels. Floor pans rotted completely, just evaporated. So this is a very solid car. It had Lexan windows in the side, Lexan windshield. You can see here, aluminum dash, aluminum scoop. That's how far the engine sits back. So pretty radical design. Radius quarter panels back here for big tire clearance. We could put a huge set of slicks on the back of this thing. It's got dirt track tires on it right now, but these are just to roll it around, which, speaking of rolling, look at that. This thing is so light and it's so free. I mean, the brakes aren't stuck. I got some good feelings here that this is going to be a good project. A couple other details that I love about this car. No trunk. This is a 51. 51s didn't have a trunk here. They also didn't have taillights in the fins, which 52 Henry J's have a taillight that completely disrupts this quarter panel, and then they have a trunk. So I love the radius wheel wells. Inside of this thing is total race car. Aluminum dash, aluminum transmission tunnel. Engine is set way back. This thing was set up really, really nice back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Now what do I do with it?
You just said it.
Well, that wasn't so bad.
No.
Look, it doesn't
Look
have
at that. This is better right here. Look at this. Look at this.
It also.
Here we go. Now you're the engine.
I stuck.
You're the engine.
No.
Make engine noises. You do good at that. For anybody who doesn't really know Henry J's, which is, it's fine if you don't know Henry J's. It's an obscure car. Typically, on a regular Henry J, this extends out here and curves down. And then you have a firewall that goes out about right here. This also curves in. So your firewall comes to about here, which is okay if you have an original 4-cylinder or maybe a 6-cylinder. But if you're building a gasser, you want that engine to be scooted back so that you get the weight to the rear tires. And they did that very nicely by basically cutting out the entire cowl and firewall and building their own out of aluminum. So this is my first real look at this with the front end off. It's amazing how much room. I mean, this is like wide open. It's going to be easy to work on. Just yank the front end off of it.
Oh, okay.
Basically, like everything right here.
Yep.
Radiator goes here. I was saying that there's already tabs on here for an engine plate that mounts the front of your engine. This is, I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. I'm not going to jinx it like that.
How
But
can we do the
this is going to be fun. We can't take the back off
Why?
without more extensive work than that.
Big
So
hair.
let's take a deeper look right here. This thing's got an old school Earhart master cylinder on it. It's a single reservoir, and we're gonna have to change that. So we're gonna put a dual reservoir master cylinder on it for safety purposes. And this is a neat vintage piece, but it's not something I'd want to use on the drag strip. Oh, there he goes. Be careful, okay? These things right here, that'll get you. Okay, we're gonna start cleaning on the inside of this thing. And the main reason for that is just to get some of the cobwebs and dirt and flaky stuff out, so that when we actually start turning wrenches on this thing, it's not just dumping stuff all over our faces. So you can see right here, just now notice this residue, that's glue, because they used to be carpet. So I see some pieces back here, like these back panels, they've got black carpet glued and screwed to it. So this was a finished out streetcar. That, again, we're finding things as we go here. We find little nuggets of information about, you know, sure, this thing has some race car stuff right here. This is race car, but carpet, that's not race car, that's street car stuff. So every step along the way, we're finding more little details that help us identify this car. I guess this used to be blue. I don't know if the whole car was blue, but this door was blue.
I can't think of a Henry J that's blue. That's just not.
It's not clicking with you?
No, I think of red, honestly.
Okay. Well, I will say that one of the most distinct pieces of this car, out of everything that I've seen on this car, is this upholstery right here. See that upholstery? That is basically to keep that front end, that fiberglass front end tilts forward, and that keeps it from just scratching the paint on the cowl. And this is just, you know, like glue on type stuff, and they've pop riveted a piece of aluminum over it. They've actually pop riveted the upholstery to the car, but they went across the cowl and down the door jamb area, and that is not normal. That's not a thing that you see on most gassers. So that's going to be something to help us identify it as well. It's not even really that dirty, is it? It's not making any difference. So we're basically just getting the loose stuff. So spray across the top, and then we'll scrub it with soap, and that's all we'll have to do.
something up there. There's something up there I can see with the glare.
It's just rust. Flaky, the paint's flaking off pretty bad up on the top. Yeah,
I love the satisfaction, but there was no satisfaction.
it's just not a dirty car.
And my car got on the side.
Uh-oh, he wrecked. All right, we ran out of daylight. It's dark outside. We've got this thing in its new home in the attached garage. A little different than our normal routine with putting something either out in the yard or in the detached garage. This is gonna force us to work on it because it's gonna be right here in our way. So tomorrow we'll hit it hard. We'll start taking this thing apart, see what parts we gotta have, get a plan together for brakes and things like that, because who knows what we're gonna run into.
I have a realization. The mirror's up here and it's not there. I don't know how I didn't notice that, but...
It's all right. That's called a peep mirror. Peep? Yeah. You can't really see much out of it, but...
Oh.
Well, I mean, even when it's not looking like that.
But it's orange.
Yeah,
at the bottom.
it's rust. It's just rust. So, anyways, we'll be back tomorrow.
Action. Parachute guy.
There is action. There's action everywhere this morning. Kids, a lot of air traffic, which Isaac loves. And we're resuming where we left off on the Henry J. It air dried all night long, and the body doesn't look any cleaner than it did. It was actually very clean to begin with. So that's our next steps. We're going to jack it up. Actually, I could probably just lift this thing. So let's see. Yeah, I'm not hurt.
You're not hurt
Nope.
whatsoever.
Nope, I'm fine.
They're children. I think they're about to... Are they staging? Are they?
I think they're about to race. You gonna race? On your mark. Get set. Go. So obviously it costs a lot of money to build a car from the ground up. It doesn't matter how you go about it. Even if I scrounge junk off the shelf that we've been accumulating for years, it still costs a lot of money. So I've got some companies that are stepping in to support this build. We've got the Holly Group. We've got lots of Holly parts coming in. Comp and Edelbrock are supplying a few parts as well. And you'll see those in a future video. And then Summit Racing is on board with some great support. I mean, I've shopped with Summit Racing anyways because they're always right on the money when it comes to the best price. You can get it here in just a day or two, and you can always depend on them to have stuff in stock. So we've got great companies involved, and there's a way for you to get involved as well. I've got merchandise, and you know, when I sell merchandise, I put a little bit of that money in my pocket, not very much, but I'm also introducing memberships. So memberships to the Hot Rod Hoarder YouTube channel will involve a small fee, a monthly fee that recurs every month, and you will get some exclusive updates on this project. After the build completes, then I'll be posting some other things as well in that members only area. But for the time being, members will get exclusive updates on the build series before the videos come out. So that's a few dollars a month, and it helps support this build. A few ways to help, a few ways to contribute to this thing. And even if you don't, I just enjoy putting this thing together and spending time with my kids and ultimately putting this thing back in action again.
It's so light. So
It is very light.
if you could pick it up,
Even my weak back can pick it up. So there goes Isaac.
Can't even get it off because it's moving so much.
Look at those big monster drum brakes.
Yeah.
I have never seen something roll that freely. I mean, the bearing is very loose, but it feels like there's nothing in there. I'm very curious. I'm really curious what this is all about. I mean,
What's that?
are these like keychains? These are keychain rings that they were using for washers. There's like a piece of a necklace thing. Okay. Good old weld wheels. Had those weld wheels on lots of things. You can see the date code right there. 1995 is when these were made. And since then, there is no telling how many cars and trucks these wheels have been on. Okay, so we have a similar arrangement. We got a brand new nut, brand new castle nut, but we have some more keychains back here. I have to count them. Got 3 on this side.
Less than last time.
Okay, now this one wasn't seized up. Fell right out. We also, what's going on here? We got a missing stud, and we've got some serious.
I need my red car.
I don't know where your red car is.
In the playground.
Go get it then. So needy.
We're learning a lot. We're gonna learn a lot.
Oh, and it's empty. And it's empty.
There's nothing there.
in there besides a wheel cylinder.
That's funny.
That's why it rolled so well. There's no brakes. The side's still stuck. And it's that outer bearing, so let's give it a little persuasion. Yeah, I feel like that's moving more.
I see it moving.
Okay. Hey now.
Yeah.
Empty.
Yeah.
Empty and rusty. We need to research and see exactly what this axle is, what these spindles are, and figure out if there's a disc brake conversion option, or if we're just going to have to rebuild some drum brakes. So we have nothing to go by. I don't think we're going to find any part numbers.
Look at this truck, Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this.
This car's got a 41 Willys axle, and Willys originally had 4-lug wheels. So back in the day, in the 60s when this car was built, instead of running the Willys spindles, they switched over to a Henry J spindle. That gave them a 5-lug hub. Well, that's what this drum brake came off of, is a Henry J. All right, it's a moment of truth. So this is a 12-bolt rear end, so it should have pretty standard GM brakes, but we took that front end apart and it didn't have anything on the inside. I got a funny feeling it's gonna be the same back here. Let's take a look. No, look, it's complete. Wheel cylinders, springs. So we should be able to just put some new wheel cylinders on this thing, some new shoes. The drums feel like they're okay. That is good news. This will be easy. All right, so we have it secured on our Harbor Freight jack stands. I had to cut that wheelie bar off, or the wheelie bar mount. This one had already been cut off. Not too worried about it. Not gonna have wheelie bars on this car anyways. While I was taking this apart, I rolled this around and noticed how both wheels spin equally. So I'm curious of what that differential is, if it's like welded up spider gears, if it's a spool or whatever it is. I want to see, and I want to see what the gear ratio is, because that's going to help me with camshaft selection and all that kind of stuff. We'll try to not damage this very cool cast aluminum rear end cover. I'm assuming this is like an ET. Oh, it's starting to leak a little bit. It doesn't have a The ETs usually had a thing right there, but maybe this was like an off-brand Mr. Gasket or something.
Brace yourself. Get ready.
Get ready, Freddie.
Get ready, Freddie.
All right, come on now. Don't break. Don't break.
Ever so slightly, just.
Oh, I think we got a little action. Here it comes.
I can see it.
Look at how new that looks. That looks like brand new gear oil.
It might be.
How is that possible? Somebody might have changed it right before they yanked the motor.
Oh, that's so satisfying.
I mean, that is like brand new. Typically, it's black.
Oh.
And you also, I'm not even smelling it.
I don't smell anything.
What in the- I mean, it makes me think somebody has been messing with this thing some. Let's go ahead and take the cover off of it.
Ew.
Yeah, a little bit of sticky noises going on. All right, well, we're just hanging out underneath this thing, studying, and I'm pleased to see that it's got a legit posi unit in it. That's a good thing. Good for streetability, but what's not good for streetability is the gear ratio. I did my little math by counting the ring gear teeth and the pinion gear teeth and then dividing the two. And what it came out to is a 538 gear. So this thing is going to be a handful. And it's not going to be good for the street with that gear. I mean, we may end up changing it to something a little more feasible for the street. 411, maybe even a 456 would be fine. 538 is going to be radical. This thing's got leaf springs and a 4-link setup. And it is extremely heavy duty. That is thick steel. Top and bottom. So I'm thinking about leaving the top links and then cutting the bottom links off. So that would actually allow me to preload the rear end a little bit so that the rear leaf springs don't wrap around, sort of like a homemade cow track bar, except on the top side of the housing instead of the bottom. I'm not sure yet, but what I would really like to do is cut this off, completely eliminate this bottom bar, and then the front mount up there, I don't know if you can see that far up there, you might need to zoom, but the front part of that mount where the bars connect to the frame, so I could just cut that off kind of even with the bottom of that top bar. That way it's not hanging down below the frame, it'll look a little better, and I don't think we'll be losing any performance. So another thing that I see under here that's worth mentioning is this extremely thick. Like, this is thick, but this is at least twice as thick as these huge plates. And this is welded vertically on the frame rail, and I'm assuming that's a bump stop. All I can imagine is if they had some real big tires on the back of this thing, that they didn't want the tires getting into the quarter panels, so they welded these stops in here. And they welded it out of some crazy thick metal. Literally every piece of this right here is something somebody built or somebody made or somebody scavenged out of another car or out of a junkyard. But so far so good. Back here is looking pretty good, other than the fact that this thing is going to be aggressive. Very aggressive.
Isaac's mentioning of it popping a wheelie might be true.
You never know. I mean, we got to have a pretty serious motor for that to happen, but a 538 gear is helpful for popping wheelies. So here's another look at that 4-link, and you can see this is, again, very heavily built. It's got a big strap, a gusset right there, and it's made out of some thick C-channel. And it's adjustable. I mean, you could totally tune your suspension with this, and, you know, some people might actually lean towards getting rid of the leaf springs and then adding some coilovers to the back, and you'd actually have a very tunable suspension. But for traditional gasser purposes, I don't want a 4-link. I want leaf springs instead. So for the transmission crossmember, they welded these plates just directly to the bottom of the frame, and they tapped them, and they put bolts in there. So the transmission crossmember bolts in very easily. I like that for just practical purposes. It does have a drive shaft loop in it, so that's a good thing. I'm not really sure what these bars are. It goes all the way through the frame. There it is on this side. There it is on this side. What could that possibly be for? All right, so this master cylinder's got just like straight screwdriver screws, and I tried the screwdriver and it was too tight. I'm gonna try these pliers because they grip really, really well. Get a good grip on it. They might twist in two because they're kind of rusty. No, it's moving. Okay, I'm just, oh, it did. I bet you this one's gonna break. Yep. Rusty.
I don't want them to go away.
They don't need them. They're rusty.
Okay, last one. And it's moving, and it's moving, and I bet that means that it's gonna twist off. Hey, 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 hey. Very, 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 very empty.
Let me see.
That's what we expected to see. Oh, that's crunchy. You hear that?
Oh yeah, I want to do it. Oh, satisfaction right there.
No, that's not satisfying. That's
Let
it
me
is.
do it.
crunchy metal.
Squirt.
Oh, gee. I was just gonna put some fluid in there, see if we got any action. But now that 3 out of the 4 screws are broke, I don't think there's any use in us doing that because we won't be able to get a good seal on the top. Not gonna get a good pedal that way. That is a castle nut. It goes right on the end right there.
What's he doing, Fairy? I want to leave the door open.
Okay.
What's he doing?
All right.
Ow.
Oh, thing fits you pretty good.
Do. I'm driving. I know how.
You know how to do it? All right. Good job. Hey, Freddie.
Get on in there, Freddie. Get on in there.
Get in the doghouse. There you go.
Yeah. Good boy.
He's a natural.
He is awesome at this, and he's gone. He went away.
All right, this thing actually has a regular gas tank under it. It doesn't have a fuel cell, and it's still accessible through the original hole, which that's one of my favorite things. Like when somebody just drills a hole in something, like it would be common probably to drill a hole here, big old hole, and then put a fuel cell there. Well, I'm not doing that. I want to keep this as our entry point for fuel. And underneath, let's get underneath it. Take a look. Underneath this thing has a gas tank. Just a standard, I don't even know what it came out of. But we're gonna take it out and clean it and see if it's usable. It's got braided lines, or a braided line, and then I'm not sure what that is, but we're gonna figure that part out and go ahead and take this gas tank out of it and see what we're up against. Oh, it's got the world's longest studs. Good. Huh, okay. Yeah, come on. Come on. It'd be great if you'd just come on off. You know, the good news is there's a second nut. I thought that was just on there as like a little spacer or a washer, but it seems pretty tight. It was just a washer. It had just seized itself up there. Okay, all right. I need to get this out of the way. Watch your head and face. And then I think that
No, that's
is
connected.
attached to something.
Yeah, that's attached to the.
To the filler neck.
Yeah.
Man, fitted. Okay. Strap number 1. Strap number 2. These straps are welded to the back of the body, just in case you were wondering. Let me get my face out from under here. So we're hanging off of that filter neck. Okay. Okay, let's regroup.
Action.
That was lucky. Wasn't even very tight, so that's good. This is going to be a challenge because that right there is hard as a rock. It's rubber. It's just a rubber hose. Just have to be patient. Come on. Let's see. I'm losing patience.
You could use this.
Wow, you are smart. How did you get so smart?
It was right in front of me.
I know, look at that. Hey. What's going on here?
I want it to come out.
Well, I'm mainly trying to get myself out of the way.
Would you like me to push the hose to come out?
Is it stuck over there on the hose? Is that what's
I
on
think
this?
that's what's wrong. Hold up.
I'll try not to mash your finger.
Yeah, it's stuck.
Try this. I suppose I could cut the other end.
I was about to say, you could just use this
Okay.
again.
Okay. Ooh, I saw a spark. You see that?
No, and I don't really think I wanted to.
I did. I saw a spark.
Okay, can we not now?
Huh?
Now?
But this was your idea.
Well, I changed my mind. I changed my mind.
Well, I mean, okay.
You could just tear it. Totally.
Yeah, let's see. Hey, all right.
I told you.
Oh, see, it's got a metal spiral wound piece of metal in it.
Yeah, you shouldn't have done that.
Now we know.
Never do that.
It'll be fine.
Ever again.
It'll be fine.
Don't do it ever again. This is a learning experience.
It'll be fine. Good thing I brought my wire cutters.
Why'd you bring your wire cutter?
I don't even know. Just did.
Ooh.
That's rusty holes in the top of the gas tank. Ah. That's disappointing. So, that's rust. See that? That's probably just about to bust through. Yep. Just made a hole with my finger.
All that work.
Well, I mean, it had to come out either way, and now we know. I was hopeful because the bottom side of it looked so good and so clean. All right, so Carly went to bed, but I decided to Google VDO fuel sending unit, and the very first thing that showed up was a shopping listing for J-Bugs, which is a Volkswagen parts supplier. And then I started Googling Volkswagen gas tanks, and I don't have it zeroed in just yet as far as what the year of Volkswagen gas tank this is, but it's some sort of Volkswagen Beetle, maybe a Carmen Ghia gas tank, and that gives me something to shoot for, something to research a little further, find something that gives us enough surface area for those two homemade straps to go around and secure it. It's got the right outlet here. All that looks good, so we should be able to get a tank and sending unit for pretty cheap. So now that we got the gas tank out of the way, we can see where they put a piece of metal in here to fill in a hole. They put a piece of metal in here to fill in the spare tire well. And, you know, it's a little ratty. There's a little bit of jagged edges and rust, and you can see where they've welded those straps in. I don't have a big problem with that. Really not anything majorly concerning here, just a matter of cleaning it up and preventing any further rust. But for the most part, I mean, there's still paint. There, you can still see black paint on the bottom side of the floor pans and on the frame, so pretty well preserved car. All right, so the biggest part of the plan on this Henry J has been the engine, and that's what's gotten me most excited about driving this thing. I mean, I want it to have a pretty rowdy setup in it. Tunnel ram is a must because the scoop, gotta have something to fill up that gap. Everybody's gonna think I'm crazy on this, but my original plan was to take apart my perfectly fine 64 Corvette. It's got a hydraulic roller, aluminum heads on a 327, plenty of compression. It would have been great with the tunnel ram on it. It would have slid right in there, and I was planning on running a 4-speed, which this thing is not set up for a 4-speed. It'd be a big project. So, and I had some things in mind for the Corvette too, that maybe someday, a long time from now, I'll end up doing. But anyways, all of that changed. As much fun as it would be to have this rowdy small block in there that would turn some good RPMs, I found a much more practical solution. I'll take a look at it here. So this is El Camino of the biggest variety, biggest El Camino they made, big old thing. And it's been sitting for a while, as you can see. You know, it's been like under a tree for quite a while. And this thing is a good donor vehicle. And the reason why is because this thing has a big block in it. So, big block Chevy. I have heard it run, but what I want to do is take this donor engine, stick a bigger cam in it, put a tunnel ram on it, do, you know, necessary valve train stuff to work with the cam and the tunnel ram, and then put this deal right over into the Henry J, because it used to have a big block in it. So even though my desire was to have a high revving radical small block and a 4-speed to actually be more accurate to the car, this is the proper setup. 454 automatic transmission. That's what this thing last ran in about 1977. That's when this thing was last on the road. All right, so we're pretty much done with the cleanup and the tear down on this car. I'm sure I'm going to run across other things that I'm going to need to tear down further, but for the time being, this allows us to make a big, giant parts list and just like an idea list of things, of how to make this thing run, how to make it drive, how to make it stop. There's a long list of things that need to be done on this car, but we've made it past step 1. You've made it with me on this first video of putting this thing back together. Tearing down, cleaning up, making this list is a big part of the project. When you're sitting here in this old car thinking about what it used to do. So that brings me to another point. The next video that you see on this car is going to be talking about the history of this car. So I already told you in this video about my history with Henry J's and why I love them, but next video will be the history of this car. So through the last several months, the last year or so, I've been digging up the history of this thing, and it is so cool. So you'll want to tune in for that. Hopefully in the next few weeks, I'll be able to put that together. But stay tuned. We're going to have several parts of building this car. The videos are going to be long. Be prepared for that. This is a big project and a big process for us. We enjoy fooling with this thing, and I hope to make a lot of great memories with Isaac and with Carly and everybody in my family. I hope that we all get to turn some wrenches on this thing and be a part of getting it back running again. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos on this car. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.